Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Joshua Suliruka here, your host of the Impact Podcast Show. This is Timmy Tar, and we're here in Liverpool in the park. Wanted to try something different, and so I'm pretty keen and excited to have a chat with Timmy about what he's done in his life, and just really kind of explore how he's gotten to where he's at now. So we should get straight into it. How was your travel, bro?
For sure. So I just got back from Europe, which is pretty cool. First time over there. Went there for a business convention, and before that we just thought we'd tie in a trip with the boys. So went to Amsterdam, did some pretty cool stuff there. Then went to the business convention in London. So it was good, man. It's good to be back. Probably got back just before all the craziness happened. They just closed off the borders in Australia, and all the other countries are really reeling it in. So just grateful to be back home and back into the routine of everything.
Even that, I think 2 weeks ago, I hit up Timmy to figure out if we can get a podcast going, and then he had to go. So it's pretty good, and you guys will get to really understand the reason why that happened in terms of the podcast stuff, because there's a lot of things that Timmy does in his own personal world that a lot of people don't realise or don't know. So we're keen to explore into that. So
me too.
Tell us about a bit about who you are, bro. Give them a bit of context on who you are. For sure. But I guess before I get started, man, I just want to say thank you to Josh for having me on the show. When he asked me, man, this is my first podcast I've ever done, but I was more than happy. All about experiences and trying new things. But I guess before I get into a little bit about myself, I just want to honour Josh. I'm a little bit older than him, and I saw him from when he was youth, in youth and going to church together, and I saw him grow and develop, go through Bible college and decide to do that and finish that, and then serve at the local church. So I saw that progression, and I saw him develop and grow into the young man and the man of God that he is today. So just want to say thank you. But not just to that, to taking the initiative to do things like a podcast. A lot of my friends and people I know, even me, I've been guilty of it a few times, where people have great ideas which turn into great intentions, and then they just become great ideas, right? But you've actually done something with it, you've actually run with it, so props to you, brother. Honoured to be on the show, so thanks. Keen, bro.
But to share a little bit about myself, I guess for me, typical Islander kid, Samoan background. Both parents Samoan, grew up out west, and pretty similar story. Went to school, didn't really I wouldn't say I wasn't the smartest kid, I just didn't really apply myself in school. I didn't have the best attitude, and I was just there for the hangs, for trying to be the popular guy and get around the popular circle. But for me, I put all my attention and focus into footy. And I put all my eggs in one basket. Did all the rep stuff with the Canterbury-Bulldogs, from 15 to about 20. Scored a paying contract with them, and I was just waking up, training, trying to make the footy dream come to life. And I guess long story short, they didn't renew the contract, and that was it. That was the footy dream over. And after that, it was what do I do now? Pretty cut up and pretty butthurt about it. At a crossroad in my life, and then the prospect of going to Bible college came about, and I decided to do it. I thought it was a great idea, investing 2-3 years of my life to the church, to not just to church but to building a better relationship with God. I thought, what could go wrong? What's the worst thing that could happen, right? And so I decided to do that, finish college, and got into a relationship, wanted to marry this girl, but I guess we didn't really see eye to eye with that. She wanted to do something else, and then just a downward spiral from there. Hung around the wrong crowd, really it took a toll on my self-confidence and my self-identity, I guess. But then with that, it really stopped me in my tracks looking back now, because it really made me realise, really self-evaluate where I was in life or where I wanted to go. And looking at where I was, I didn't have much to show for anything. My parents were still working, had big promises to give back to my family and to my community, but I had nothing to show for it, right? And so I got into the workforce, did that, you know, started helping out at home, and but it was just so unfulfilling.
Yeah.
I wasn't satisfied from what I was doing. I felt myself slowly start to become very, very miserable, and it just reminded me of what Les Brown would say. He said that a lot of people will die at 25, but they don't get buried until they're 75.
Yeah, wow.
And that's how I was starting to feel.
Wow.
And so like that was a big indicator or symptom, if you will, about like really, really evaluating where I was. And like I just remember one thing my mum would say. She'd say to me, as cliche as it is, like, son, show me the 5 friends that you hang around with, and I'll show you where you're going to be in the next 5-10 years. And looking at my circle then, my friends were broke. And if I was hanging out with 4 broke guys, I was going to be the next fifth one, broke guy, right? And so like all my mates, all they wanted to do was go out, you know, live for the weekend, spend all their money on alcohol, like womanize, all of those kind of things. And I thought was great for a period of time, but I wanted more in my life.
Yeah.
And I knew that if I didn't change who I hung around with immediately, then nothing was going to change, right? And so I guess when I started to like think about what I wanted to do, my mindset, I guess, shifted gears, and because of that, like I started to attract opportunity in my life. Different opportunities. I started to hang out with, I started to, I guess, to meet guys that were more business savvy, that had like an entrepreneurial flair about them. I started to attract like opportunities in business, and long and the short of it, I started my online business, and so like I'm still working full time now as a project manager, and just really focused now, very, very sure of myself. And just excited for the next 5-10 years, and just super grateful, living it one day at a time. And I get to hang out with guys like Josh. So, yeah, that's my story in a nutshell. Man. So, but yeah.
Do you want to take over, bro?
What do you mean?
You need to start your own one, bro. You need to, man. Nah, that's crazy, man. Like that's probably like the most content or context that I've got from you, bro.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, it's good because there's a few people that I've interviewed and they've only tell us a few, and I have to like, you know, ask them certain questions, but man,
like, get out of
yeah, get them out of but I can tell that you're already on a roll, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So, a lot of that stuff, like I owe to like the business side of things, like you know, sharing your story with other people, like your why, and like being quite articulate about it. So yeah, it's all the things that I've learned in my business endeavors.
Yeah.
So yeah,
true. Just from hearing the bit of the content or the context that you've given on who you are, I've got heaps of questions where I'm gonna ask you, man.
Far away, brother. I'm an open book, man.
My first question to you is I want to look first on the rugby league side of yourself, and just being a Pacific Islander. There has been a couple of boys that I've interviewed, and they're all of Pacific Islander background, and I think we all are aware of the pressure that is applied from you being a Pacific Islander, not only within high school, but like going through school and like having certain teachers and certain students saying, oh yeah, like you're gonna make it to NRL because you're so good. But my question to you, man, is like, how did you kind of go through that pressure, being an Islander, but also going through the ranks of footy? Because you didn't mention that footy wasn't the way, but do you want to kind of touch base on that a bit more, explore more?
Like how I dealt with the pressures of
yeah, the pressure
and the expectation from my family.
Yeah,
bro. For like, that's a good question, man. Like, my cousin used to work in Perth in the mines in HR, and she told me this crazy stat, like that majority or the higher rate of people that were committing suicide in the mines were Islanders.
Oh wow!
Of Pacific Islander descent, and I think it's very similar in like the footy. I don't know how up to date that is, but this was like a few years ago. But that really, really made me realise, like, I have a few friends as well that because like what they wanted to do was footy, and that didn't work out for whatever reason. They thought, man, that's the end of the world.
Yeah.
And I definitely can relate to that, because growing up, my dad, bro, he'd buy me all the new boots. I would be the talk of the town, like when we go to family meetings, he'd talk about how good my son was, like talking about me, like to the guys at work, like how good I was. And man, I was his pride and joy, like looking back now.
Yeah.
And so when my contract didn't get renewed and like it all seemed like it was all over, my parents were cut, man. Like my dad was like looking back now, like unhealthily cut. Like I just remember thinking, like at a young age, my parents were upset, but then on the same breath, like, bro, I wanted to be consoled as well, because man, like I was the guy that was going through all of that, right? And all my parents could think about was how much of a disappointment I was. So like that was going through my head, and I just remember thinking, man, like my dad's cut and upset. I get that, man, but I just want someone to be there for me. Right, like to be real and raw. And I guess how I dealt with like the pressures and the expectation of all of that, like, you know, to put this into context for you, till this day, when I see people that I went to school with, they ask me, how's footy? How's footy going? Like, oh, you gave up footy, you still played footy. I'm like, bro, I've almost been out of the game for like 10 years and you're asking me how footy was, right? Like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm all right. I'm doing well, you know? Like, what else is happening in my life? So that was the kind of lens that everyone saw me at school with, and like socially. And that's what I had to deal with. And for a long time, I didn't want to watch the sport because I'd see a lot of my mates that would play, right? Like, and it gave me a little bit like on edge a little bit. So, but I guess to answer your question with giving you background on that, how I dealt with the pressures of that, man, I had particular relationships that I formed in Bible college, and my particular relationships that I formed in Bible college that served as an anchor in my life. You know, things that I knew that were consistent, things that I knew, like, no matter what kind of curveballs life threw at me, I would go back there and I'd find a safe haven and a safe place in them, right? Like, and to name a few, like, it'd be relationships that I formed at Bible college, particular individuals, like men that speak into my life and encourage me and ask me how I am, like, regardless of, you know, whether I go to church or not, or whether I've been a good Christian or not. But also as well, like, the church itself, like the church that I go to, has been there for almost 30 plus years now. Like, and I think that's what's important, like, to deal with the pressures and the expectations of life, because it's so up and down, like it's so crazy and volatile. You want to have an anchor, you want to have something that you know that you can always go back to, something that you know is consistent, like that doesn't go up and down with the trends or the craziness of life and the unpredictability of the economy, right? That you can always go back to. Like, it reminds me of The Rock. You know, if you follow him, he always talks about his morning routine. Like, no matter where he goes, like no matter if he's been flying for 10 hours, he comes back and he's got to get his routine workout in, because for him, that's his anchor. That's what keeps him grounded. That's what keeps him level-headed. So to answer your question, that's what I recommend, man. Having something in a form of either in a relationship or like something healthy where you can, that is therapeutic and healthy, like working out that you can go to, that you know is always going to be there, man. So that's what I would recommend. That's what helped me. And also, like, things like reading books, open up my mind. You know, I think, like, you know, I don't know, like, it upsets me to think that, you know, people that have taken their life because of something that didn't work out, like the helplessness or the hopelessness that they'd feel, right? They'd feel that their world is finished, it's ended, right? Like, and I found that reading books and speaking, like, not just with the relationship with people, but it was the conversations that you had with them, the conversations that you had with them that opened up your mind. And like, that's the thing with the mind, right? Like, once it expands, it's very hard for it to come back, like, to retract again. So, like, reading books to open up your mind to realize, hey, look, footy didn't work out, but man, it's a big freaking world out there, right? Like, the world is your oyster. Also as well, like, one thing that really opened that up for me was traveling, man. Like, if you want to grow up really quickly and realize that your problems are pretty insignificant, go traveling, man. Go traveling. Seek experiences. So that's what I recommend.
Crazy. And even that, you're mentioning too, that your mum had mentioned to you about, like, the 5 friends. So would you also mention about you know, surrounding yourself with, because you know how you're talking about relationships, you know, being one of the key ways in how you dealt with the pressure. Would you say that, you know, surrounding yourself with, like, you know, good people would help out? Would you?
Bro, game changer, man. You want to talk about game changers? Like, relationships, cultivating healthy, wholesome relationships, man. Absolutely, absolutely, man. Like, how can I put this? Relationships that encourage you, like, you know, the way I like to view things is I always want to be the dumbest in the room. I always want to be the guy that like knows the least in the room, because if I am that guy, right, like I'm always surrounded by people that are better than me, and I have to elevate to be in their game, to their game, right? Like, and that could be spiritually, that could be in business, that could be in people skills, that could be in like even, man, like interacting with the opposite sex. Like whatever area in your life you want to level up in, like that's the kind of paradigm that I've gone into it, was like always looking to be the dumbest like in the room, or the least qualified in the room, because you know, like this guy once said to me, he's like, I'd rather be the worst basketball player in the best team than the best basketball player in the worst team. Right, like
so good, man.
So yeah, relationships are key, man. Like if there was an emoji button, I press key.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So relationships can make or break it, and like even I see it can work on, like it can be a double-edged sword as well. Like I've seen guys that gone into relationships probably a little bit prematurely, like in terms of like the opposite sex and stuff like that. And you know, they weren't really motivated in life. They didn't really have much going. Like, I'm not saying that I'm better than them. Didn't really have much going for them. But then they started a family, right?
Yeah.
Right, like one choice will lead to starting a family. Then you're buying a house, and then you're getting a job because you have to work, because you have all these expenses, and it's a vicious cycle, man.
Yeah.
Like, and then next thing you know, 10, 15 years down the track, you have all these kids, you have a house. Let's say you have a mortgage, but you're miserable. Like your passions haven't grown. Like if anything, they've died. Like so, relationships are key, man. Relationships are key. Networking is key. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's crazy to see how much footy has, you know, really developed you as a person.
Yeah.
Not only just like within the game, but also, you know, stepping away for, you know, close to 10 years. You've been away from the game, and it's crazy to see that people still ask you questions, because then obviously it goes to show that they don't really know. I wouldn't say they don't know who you are, but they don't know who you are now.
Yeah.
Like they haven't really, you know, looked at it and said, oh, okay, so Timmy hasn't played. And so, yeah. Nah, it's not. I'm already loving this already. The man.
Thanks,
the man. So I want to touch base also. I want to talk about college, because if you guys aren't aware, the college that Timmy's talking about is the same college that I done. So I'd finished that off last year, done my diploma in Christian leadership. So yeah, let's touch base a bit about that. So when did you graduate?
Bro, I don't even remember, man. I think it was 09.
Yep.
Don't quote me on it.
Yeah.
I think it was 09. Yeah. When I started, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I've heard some stories that it was like it's dramatically changed from where it was then to where it is now. Well, that's just based on what I've observed. But what were some of the key takeaways that you got out of college? Or, you know, probably just name probably max 3, because I know we got heaps that we can. 3
takeaways?
Yeah, just probably some 3 takeaways that you got out of going to college.
3 takeaways from college. It didn't make sense to do it.
Yep.
But I knew that I was like inherently. I didn't know this, like, and I couldn't articulate it back then. But inherently, I knew that I was doing it like for me. And it was a gut call. It was kind of my first independent call that I made as a man. Like, because prior to that, it was always making decisions based on what my parents wanted, or they kind of say, oh, you know, do what you want to do, but they kind of push you towards one particular direction, right?
It's like subtle way.
Yeah.
Like, just go here.
It's super subtle, man. So doing that for myself was a big thing. That was big in terms of, that was probably the first real step of me becoming my own independent man away from my dad. And the second one would be, that's where I got introduced to personal development. So the concept and the idea of investing in yourself, because you're your best asset. You know, wherever you want to go, whatever you want to achieve, whatever you want to improve in, like relationship or business endeavor or humanitarian effort or building a church, whatever it is, like, you got to take yourself there. And you got to have a particular mindset. And, you know, like 80% of society, they they relate to negativity, like the glass half empty, right? Like, you know, you introduce a particular perspective or business opportunity, or what I've found to anyone, and, you know, majority of the time, like 9 out of 10 times, it's always like a no, because people are super cynical, you know, because growing up, we're so used to, we get told no, like, man, a few 100,000 times. Like, think about it. So, like, getting introduced to the concept of personal development, things like accountability, things like leadership, people skills, and investing into the biggest asset that I own, the thing between my ears, that was big. And it really, really laid a foundation for me in terms of the next, looking back now, like I've done college like 6-7 years ago, it really, really laid the bedrock and the foundation, like with where I'm at in life now. Like I mentioned earlier, the relationships that I formed there, that was probably the most valuable thing that I got from there. If I didn't do college, I wouldn't have been exposed to, you know, that kind of mentoring or having readily accessible relationships. So those relationships have probably served me in more ways than I can count, man. Like, looking back now, just with the craziness, just with the hecticness of life, man. So those are probably the three main things.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. It's crazy to see how much you can get from even knowing that, like, because like that was a decision that you had made, and you already mentioned that it was something that like a decision that you had made as a man, like being a man yourself. Because I know that, like, you know, within Islander culture, like, you know, we're always told that we have to go out and, you know, make sure that we're getting a job so we can help our family, our parents. But then there's not really much of an opportunity to kind of do what we want to do. But I guess college was like one of the pinnacle moments for you. That kind of established you to being a man and saying, you know what, I'm gonna do me.
Good, man.
That's good, man. But yeah, so you mentioned personal development, and that's one thing I really want to crack on. That's probably the main purpose as to why I wanted to bring you down, because I'm looking at your Facebook, I'm looking at everything that you're putting up, and we're talking about it before, but, you know, one of the few key people that we follow that's pretty common in both my life and Timmy's is Gary V. And I can see a bit of Gary V. In your stuff, man. I already had an idea that you know, some of the things that you're doing were Gary V based from him, because I was listening to, you know, his stuff, I was seeing the content that he's putting up, and I'm like, it links, like, if you actually listen to Gary V, and if you're a follower, you would know exactly, you know, the things that he talks about, the thing that you know, the personal development that he always talks about, content. That's what he keeps saying. It's just, you know, it's all about content. It's all about, you know, getting things out there and just doing it. And I can see someone like Isaac John, you know, he's one of the key guys that really got me inspired to start this podcast show. He mentions the same thing about the Gary V stuff. So that was one thing that really caught my eye about you, and I wanted to really explore today on personal development. With that, I want to firstly ask you, what inspired you to get into personal development? Like, what was the anchor point?
What inspired me to get into personal development? I knew that once I identified where I wanted to go, what I wanted to achieve, and it actually came from me writing down, I forgot who it was, but someone told me, like, write down 10 characteristics you want in your future partner. And then I wrote it down, and then the same person asked me, okay, what kind of, now that I've listed that 10 things, I think it was Darren Hardy that said it. It's like 10 things, and then so now that you see that, what are the things now that what kind of person do you need to be now that you need to develop into to become that person, like, that will attract that kind of person in your life? And so that really got me thinking, like, what kind of man do I want to be? And I just realized that, you know, to get the results that I want in my life, to get to the goals to come into fruition that I want into my life, there's a particular mindset that you had to have. There was particular traits and characteristics that you had to have, and like it reminds me, like Jim Rohn said that formal education will make you a living, but self-education will make you a fortune.
Oh.
And it's true. Looking back now, like school, it doesn't teach you about the things that happen in life. Things like bouncing back from a bad relationship, or dealing with debt, or how do you handle a broken heart. Like how do you bounce back from rejection, right? Like people skills. They don't teach you all of this stuff that is invaluable. Like it's all the academic side of things, and like I wasn't really that good at that. Like you know, I remember them teaching algebra in school, and I remember thinking to myself, pretty sure I'm not going to use this, man. But you know, whatever. I'm at school, so yeah. So like when I really got turned on to that, then I realized the importance of personal development and pouring into myself and investing into myself, and like. Till this day now, like looking back to date, I've probably spent like tens of thousands of dollars on myself, like on cultivating a better mindset, you know, looking at the world at a different angle, like all those things that open up and have broadened my horizon. So and I owe that all to personal development, to self-education, however you want to put it. So you know, like if you're not growing, you're dying. Like, you know, when people say like, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. Like, it's the same thing. Like, it's the law of entropy. If you're not growing, you're dying, and that's the same thing. Like, people, the reason why people, like I've met people that I went to school with and stuff like 6-7 years ago, but they're still working the same job. Right? Like, they're still doing the same thing. They're still earning the same income, right? Because they haven't, like, that's been the game changer for me and the separators, because I've decided to invest into myself. Right, invest into myself, into where I want to go. So yeah, that's the importance of personal development, and I guess how it's benefited my life and the people around me. Because like, how are you meant to serve your community or serve your family or serve your significant other or your church, right? Like, because there's particular skill sets and a particular mindset that you need to do that. So all of that's found through, like, I think it's just invaluable. Right, like picking up a book for $10, $12, or someone's whole life lessons, right? It could have cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars, like super, like like a lifetime filled with all these emotions going like this, dealing with just shit going wrong, right? Right, like, and it's all the nuggets, all the gems are in this $12 book. I just think it's silly if you don't pick it up, or you don't see the value in picking it up and reading it, and then, you know, because that's like, for me, there's two ways you can learn. Like, you can either learn the hard way, or you can learn from someone else's mistakes, and that's what books do for you, like all personal development. So yeah, man, like in a nutshell, I guess I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does, bro. Yeah, it does.
So and even things like going into coaching, like getting accountability, right? Like the beautiful thing about coaching is because, bro, they're able to see like blind spots, things that you can't see, right?
See things you can't see.
Yeah, how are you meant to? They give you that little adjustment or that nudge that you need, because like, man, you know, a lot of you can't see the picture being within the frame a lot of the time. All right, so. Like, that's why it's so important to invest in yourself in the form of coaching. Coaching or like accountability. So yeah.
But yeah, man, in terms of development, personal development, what like, you know, who are the key guys that you listen to, like, you know, that really helps you out? Listen to or read. They can be alive, they can be dead. But like, who are the key guys that truly inspires you to be you?
Key guys, probably Gary V.
Yo, my man.
100% Gary V. Like Gary V. I just love his perspective on life, his outlook on life. It really just, yeah. If you don't follow him, if you're not familiar with his stuff, like, check out Gary V. Gary V. Some books that have changed my life is probably like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Come on, bro.
Stephen Covey. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Max Out by this guy called Ed Milet. Like,
he does podcasts too, yeah?
He does.
Yeah.
I'd highly recommend getting into stuff like.
I'll probably listen to that, bro.
Yeah, bro. Really good, man.
On my way home.
Yeah, he was mentored by Tony Robbins. So Tony Robbins, yeah. So like I do a lot of seminars, like at least one major seminar a year. So Tony Robbins says this thing like, you know, what's the quickest way you can learn a language, right? Like you can learn it from YouTube or Google Translate, and you know, post up like common things like hello and bye on your mirror and your door and stuff like that. But man, it's until you really go to the country and immerse yourself in the culture where you'll learn it, where your back's up against the wall, where man, people like without you communicating that particular that language, you won't be able to get where you want in the shops, right? So like immersion, that's the importance of going to an event like, you know, like Intensify and stuff like that. That really sets you up and really catapults you up for the next, you know, like really does wonders for your belief system, your confidence. So I do one of those a year. I like to read at least 6, 7 to 10 books a year. I'm not much of a reader. Like a lot of the books that I've read is I've gone over it again, like I go back to it, but I like to read 10 pages a day.
Nice.
Like I have this thing called critical tasks that no matter what, like, you know, whether I've had 2 hours of sleep or whether I haven't done anything that day, like I got to do it, get it done regardless. I can't go to sleep otherwise. That I got to do, but on the same breath, if I finish them early, I can just do whatever I want during the day. So like I have like 5 critical tasks, and reading 10 pages a day is one of them. Or also as well, like becoming super practical. Like for me, I drive around a little bit for work. And so once I'm in the car, I turn my car into a mobile university, you know, put on a podcast or listen to or an audio. I also listen to an audio book. Grant Cardone is good. Grant Cardone, Darren Hardy, just to name a few. Alex Morton. But I also like. I also am very intentional with my social media in terms of who I follow. Like, you know, you spend a lot of time on your phone. And so, like, use it wisely. Don't spend less time on it. Just use it more intentionally. Like, follow people that are going to add value to your life. Follow people that are going to counter, you know, all this negative stuff that you see on the news and you see around you, right? Like, let it be something that inspires you and gets you feeling a particular good way, right? So, that's some of the like hacks that I've done, and I just recycle that. You know, make sure I go to 1 or 2 immersion conventions a year, 10 pages a day, 7 to 10 books. Always listening to audios. Like first thing I do when I wake up, listen to audio as I'm brushing my teeth, and when I get in the car, listen to audios as well. So yeah, when I work out, audios rather than listening to music. But that's not saying that I don't listen to music. I still do. But I think. It's really important when you get up in the morning that you want the first thing that goes into your conscious mind to be something that's uplifting and wholesome, right? Like something that will make you feel inspired, right? Like not straight away checking your phone or rolling out, because like I found that for me, when I check my phone immediately, all of a sudden I'm thinking about all the fires that I need to pull out, like, and then all the problems that I have to solve, and because of that, like, you're in a tense state. And then automatically you get out of bed, your day starts and you're on the back foot. Man, and you wonder why people like, man, are really short, or when someone cuts you off, like you give them the birdie and stuff like that, right? Like, because it's all about how you started your day. So if you really, because there's only really 2 parts of the day you can control, right? Like what you do before you go to sleep and what you do when you just wake up. And I've found that when I've kind of nailed what I do in the morning and what I do in the evening before that, the middle takes care of itself, right? It takes care of itself. And I'm not saying that every morning, like I wake up and I do my morning routine. But man, if you're doing it 4 times out of 7, like you've won the week. Right. Like you want to look at it at a, and if you won like 3 weeks out of 4, right, you've won the month, right? And like, so it has a flow-on effect. So yeah, that's what I probably found, like in terms of practical personal development that I found has really helped me, because my mentor told me in order to change something, you got to change what you do every day. Right? Like, and so you want to really, if you're serious about that, really look at what you're doing in the mornings, like what you're doing in the mornings, because more than likely you'll be doing something that, like, subconsciously you just do what you've always been doing, like there's particular habits that you just fall back on. 100. Whether they're good or not, I don't know. So it's really, really good. That's why it's really healthy to journal. Like if you're not into journaling or you haven't done it before, you've heard the concept before, journal, man. Like write down your thoughts, write down what you're going through, what inspired you, what moved you, what annoyed you, right? Like because that's where you'll be able to kind of get everything out from your head and then really step back and self-reflect and make a self-assessment, because a lot of the times, you know, people aren't aware of what they do every day.
So true.
They're not aware of that, right?
So
like, and they go on just in robot mode.
So true, man.
They just keep doing what they're doing, and then, bro, like, next thing you know, like 5-10 years down the track, they're not happy with where their life is, right? Or they've put on 15 kilos and their knees hurt, right? And they're constantly getting headaches and stuff like that. But it's all like because they haven't really made the self-assessment, or they're not self-aware because they haven't put things into place where they can step back and say, all right, look, this is what I'm doing, I probably should change this, right? Becoming aware of it. So I found that journaling, getting into a routine, like a morning routine and an evening routine, really helps with all of that stuff. So yeah bro,
that's crazy, man. It's crazy to see that all that's happening in your life, and I can see already how much of an impact it makes when you start making, you know, subtle changes for like your morning routine. Like this year, like at the start of this year, I said to myself, well, I do have the time, and I always have time. You know, you always have time in the world, but I guess it's just, you know, based on how you perceive it. But I think for me, the key thing that I've learned this year already is that your morning routine is key. Like if you can get a morning routine right, then the day will work itself.
That's right.
Yeah, I fully believe that, bro. And I'm already doing that right now. Like, you know, little things like, oh, man, I'm always at the gym every morning. Like, because that's my anchor for me. Like, that's like pretty much where all my ideas come. Like, I've just realized that as of yesterday.
Oh yeah.
That all these ideas that I get, you know, messaging certain people about getting them onto the podcast show, or messaging key people that, you know, could potentially, because, you know, I've got like all these ideas on, you know, running or creating a business, but it's like, I need to talk to the right people. So all those ideas all fall back on the way that I start in the morning. If I start crap, and if I don't go well, like if that, then like everything just all goes into, you know, pieces instead of places.
That's right.
Yeah, bro. But I wanted to ask a question about your e-commerce, or your business, that you're talking about. Did you want to kind of share a bit about that, or elaborate a bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. So like I do Forex Trading.
Okay. Yep.
So basically, like how that works is, you know, when you go overseas, like for example, I had like $3,000 AUD.
Yep.
And then I went to Europe. Because they use the euro dollar, like I had to change my AUD to the euro dollar, and so with Forex, man, like in a nutshell, it's a $6.6 trillion industry a day. It's huge industry, and like what I found out was when I started to do this and started to do my own research is that like our banks, I thought that, you know, with our savings account, like banks, they make their money on the returns on interest rates, right? Or like bank fees and stuff like that, but it's not. So what they do with our savings account is they give it to a broker, then they trade in the Forex market. And so like basically what I do is, like in a nutshell, what Forex trading is that when you exchange the money, you make money on like either the market going up or going down. So it's that's basically in a nutshell what I do. And I show people how to do that. How to make money from their phones, to be completely remote. And it's been an interesting journey, man. Like it's a service-based company, so it's been pretty cool, man. Been interesting. Yeah.
And so, you know, with that being said, like has this coronavirus stuff been like an effect on your e-commerce business?
Not at all,
really?
Man. Yeah. Not at all. Like I found that like traditional businesses, or businesses that like require going to an actual geographic location, like going to an office and stuff like that, has really suffered. Like one of the benefits of what I do is that, man, like all you need is, bro, like an internet connection and a phone, and a smartphone, right? And then you're like opening up an account, and like with the way that Forex is set up, like it's either like, because regardless of what the economy does, like the volatility of it, whether it goes up or whether it goes down, like you just whether it goes up or whether it goes down, like how it works is that you bet against whatever the market is doing. So all you got to do is predict it.
Yep.
Like, and there's particular strategies, particular methodologies that we use to get confirmations for that, and that's how you make money.
Yo.
So, like, short answer, no, man, no, not at all. Like when I was in Europe, like when I was out and about, like the market opened up because it's open up 24/5.
Yep.
Like 5 days a week. Man, like I checked the charts and that, and made like I was able to make money while I was overseas.
Yeah, wow.
So no, man.
Yeah,
not at all.
Yeah, because I was just curious about that, because there's a lot of people talk. Even that the media saying that too, like how, like the market's like dropping and like at a significant like rate, and even it's like they're saying that it's like at an all-time low. And I was curious about that because it is an e-commerce business, and there is, I know that there's other people out there that are probably getting affected by it, but yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool to see that you're not affected by it. I think you're like the only person that I know that I've spoken to that has said that they haven't been affected by it. But no, but like with that being said, bro, with all this coronavirus and stuff happening, like I know that a lot of people are in a place of fear, like they're fearing themselves into the business or work. I know that there's a lot of people like they're losing their jobs now. What is something that you've learned? I know you've only been back for a couple. Wait, how long have you been back for? Like you got back from
2.5 weeks.
Yeah, 2.5 weeks. Yeah. So now that you've been back, like what's some of the things that you can take away from this coronavirus stuff that could probably encourage people out there at the moment that are feeling fearful?
Look, man, like what you got to understand about the media is like they are what you call a three-pronged entity. So they make money in 3 avenues. So 1, by your attention, right? Like, and 2, which attracts advertisement, and 3, through their ratings that they get, right? Like, and it's all tied together. And negativity is what drives that through the roof, man. Like that achieves that
legit,
like quite easily, man. Like like the old adjective CNN, right? Constant negative news. It's true, man. Like all you see on the news is negative stuff, man. Like I heard something crazy that over 70,000 people last year in America alone died from the flu, normal flu, and it's only like 8,000 people that have died from the corona, right?
Yeah, I've seen that.
It's not written about, right? That story isn't covered because it doesn't sell, man. This is what sells, like negativity sells. So like what I'm saying, I think now is a time that is more important than ever to really, really guard like your heart and your mind about what you're taking in. If it's not uplifting, if it's not inspiring, if it doesn't move you emotionally, man, like, well, I guess the right emotions, don't watch it. Like the news will just, man, it's not good, man. Like, and it's crazy what people now, it's causing like panic buying, right? People do crazy things when they're fearful and they don't understand. But man, like if that's what you're getting, if that's what you're using to influence your worldview on the world, then man, like it's only going to lead you into things like all this hysteria about the coronavirus and all this silly stuff, man, and everything's blown out of proportion and out of control. And I guess what I'm trying to say is probably in a nutshell, and I guess people that to really put this into perspective to everyone is that, man, like it's not that bad. Like it's not that bad. Have you even looked up the symptoms of like the coronavirus? I looked it up yesterday. It's fever, severe cough, and a few other things. They're like flu-like symptoms. But it's only like the stat was 80% of people usually recover from it without getting special treatment. You see, like all of this stuff isn't talked about, right? Like the people that are really at risk are the elderly because their immune systems aren't that strong anymore.
Exactly.
So like
if you actually knew your studies and you actually researched on it, you would know.
So people are like getting all crazy and frantic because they're not basing like this on facts and I guess a sound mind. Right, it's all from the media. But look, man, like I get that's how human nature is, man. Like we all love drama, right? Like we all resonate with negativity. But like going back to this is the reason why personal development is so important. Because man, like things like this, man, it highlights where your mindset is at. Like, it highlights where your mindset is at. And so if you're not having things that are counteracting all that negative stuff, all of those things that are blown out of proportion, then man, you're going to live a very, very contracted, fearful, not even keel life, and you're probably the guy that has stocked up on all this frozen food and all this toilet paper. So that would be my advice. Like, don't believe everything you see and read. Do your own due diligence. If you're not inspired to do that, then listen to someone that you trust. Listen to someone that may specialize in this field and get their opinion on it, rather than someone that like the news, which profits from what I talked about earlier, which is the three things, which is drive by negativity, right? So that's what I'd say, man. But like I've definitely been indirectly affected in terms of being a lot more conscious about washing my hands. Right, like covering my mouth in public when I cough, or if I cough. Just things. I'm a little bit more sensible about it. But I don't think it's anything to be too. We've just got to be sensible about it, man. Be sensible about it and base your view on it on facts and a sound mind. So do your own due diligence. So that's what I would say, man. That's what I would say.
I think right now I'm looking at people, and I did mention this in my personal kind of podcast that I've done about the coronavirus and the effects on society. I had mentioned that this is the point where everyone's exposed. Like, you're exposed to the real self. Like, your true self is being exposed now.
I agree with that.
For all those that are doing their morning routines, for all those that are actually doing their personal development, like, you're getting exposed to this. Like, if you're actually doing personal development that are actually effective, once you're exposed, like as of this moment, like you have this coronavirus happening, people going into lockdown, or they potentially feeling like you're going to go into lockdown. That's when like people like us are getting exposed and saying, you know what, like we're actually like just as keen. We're already prepared because we've been training ourselves. It's not like a trying thing; it's a training for us when we do the personal development. So yeah, I just had that thought. I was like, man, like we're getting exposed now. Like, while everyone else that hasn't been really developing on themselves are getting hindered, or getting kind of pushed down, we're getting like, so we're I feel like the faith of ourselves inside are getting like, it's uplifting for us to go out there.
Oh, I agree with you, man. Like, you think about like when pre-season starts. I like to make a sport analogy. Like when pre-season starts, and the guys that are struggling in conditioning are the guys that didn't prepare properly, right? And it's the same thing when the world hits this like a crisis, like a global pandemic, right? Like it highlights the unprepared. Or it highlights old programming that probably isn't serving us in terms of particular thought like patterns, emotions that we go to all the time, right? So yeah, that's the importance of personal development and being around people that can elevate your mind, people that talk about ideas and the future rather than actual people, right? Like I read this post where this guy was like, if it's not about self-progression, about ideas and about helping people, then I don't want to hear about it. Right? Like a lot of people, like, they just want to talk. They want to talk about people, man. They want to,
or even talk smack.
Talk smack. Like, but yeah, man. So
nah, true. So with that being said, we're gonna like just closely wrap up now. But one question I do want to ask is, I'm feeling like, if I was one of the listeners right now, listening as in this moment, I'd probably be questioning about personal development and trying to figure out a way to get into it, or even just start doing something else. So is there anything that you could possibly kind of encourage the listeners on, like, personal development and how they can actually start? Like, is there certain things that they can do now that can probably get them into developing themselves?
Easy, man. Like I guess the most simplest way to put it is that whether you're a aspiring sports professional athlete, or whether you want to be a teacher, or whether you want to be a lawyer and work in corporate, whether you want to start a business, whether you want to up your social media game, whether you want to improve your skills with the opposite sex, whatever it might be, whether you want to improve your relationship with God, whatever it might be. The easiest way that I found, and probably the most simplest way to do this, is the modeling principle. Find someone that has the results that you want and just do the exact same thing that they do.
100, bro.
It's as simple as that, man. Like,
yes.
speak the way they, like, if you met the people that speak into my life, you'll probably pick up, I say things like them, or I have particular hand gestures like them, and it's all from that modeling principle, man.
Yeah.
Like, whatever they have, just do what they do. How they say it, their habits, what they watch, what they read, what they eat, you just mimic them. That's all it is, man. Like, you just keep watching them, keep mimicking them, and then just put that on repeat, rinse and repeat. Yo. That's probably the easiest way to do it, because, man, if there's anyone that you want to model, eventually when you're doing things and saying things and thinking like them, eventually you have the results that they have.
Yeah.
That's the easiest way to put it, man. Like, easiest way to put it. Like, and then you probably find out that they might have courses, or you might get into their network and who they hang around with, and the people that they allow to speak into their life, and it just opens up, man.
Yep.
That's the easiest way, man.
Yo.
Easiest way, and you don't have to invest monetarily into it, which I highly recommend that you do.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you get things for free, you don't really see the value in it. You don't take it as seriously, as opposed to if you bought like a $1,500 course or like a $10,000 course. Like, you take it a lot more seriously as opposed to watching free content on YouTube, right? So, like, man, modeling principle, find them on social media, follow them, turn the notifications on, so when they post, you read their post and just eat that up, man. Eat that up. Be obsessed with that. And then I tell you now, do it long enough, be a good person, be diligent, and do that long enough, man. It's inevitable to get the success that they have.
100.
The modeling,
it's bound to happen, bro.
Bound
to happen, man.
Easiest way to say it.
Crazy, bro. Nah, we're gonna get you back on, bro. We're gonna get you back on for sure. But yeah, now that is all we got for this podcast. I'm over the moon, eh?
Thanks for having me, man.
I'm keen as, bro. But yeah, just be sure, guys, if you guys got any questions, put it down in the comments below. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. We're on Twitter and we're on Instagram too. But just remember, Instagram's our main platform at the moment. Where can they follow you, bro?
So follow me at i.m. I think it's, we'll put it in the
we'll put it in the description.
So hit me up, connect with me. More than happy to if you guys got any questions, hit me up, man. More than happy to answer them, and even just to connect, just to be a friend and be a guy in your corner. I'm more than happy to do that. So yeah,
sweet. So that's all we got. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.